Okay, if everyone's ready, we'll start the March 15th meeting of the Airport Commission. Call to order.
Neil
Roll
Johnson.
call. Here.
Greg Collier.
Here.
Andrew Barker. Joel Gardner. Steve Smith.
Here.
Bill Schoonover.
Here.
Greg Willoughby.
Here.
We do have the minutes, even though it was not, it indicated we didn't have. Everyone have a copy of it, and we can either approve them now or wait till next. So if I hear a motion.
I motion we approve the minutes.
Second.
Motion second, we approve. All in favors? Say
Aye.
all opposed? Okay. Any comments from the audience at this time? Susan, you want to go ahead and do the your change on the wording of the usage fee? We usually try to get her up here at that time anyway, so let's use that time for this.
So James and I were discussing the ramp fees, and the way it's worded right now is it says anything over 8 hours, which, as we all know, it's really hard to take an airplane, figure out when it's going to be, when it exactly arrives, and charge them 8 hours after that. So we looked at whether or not it would be better to have a shorter fee or maybe just change the wording to overnight. And that's typically what we're doing right now, is just charging people if they're there overnight and they do not take fuel.
I got a question about it. How often do we charge ramp fees?
Very seldom.
Can you give us an idea of about what that generates a year?
Probably less than $100. I mean, majority of the time, if they know that there's going to be a ramp fee, they're going to take fuel.
So you're thinking the only positive of it is that you probably get some fuel sales you wouldn't get if it wasn't in place.
No, it just makes it easier when people are calling in. Instead of saying, are you going to be here over 8 hours, we can just change it to, will you be here overnight?
That's not my question.
In 3 years, we've collected $83.
Pardon me?
3 years, we've collected $83 on ramp fees.
And that's exactly my point. It's not really worth even having it in place, except does it generate fuel sales that otherwise it wouldn't by it being there? I guess that's my...
Typically, it does not. I mean, anybody that's going to be there overnight is most likely going to be some type of a charter operation, and they typically take fuel anyway.
Well, I can tell you right now that it was a deterrent to me when I was flying a lot that you had to pay ramp fees somewhere. And I'm wondering if we should just do away with it altogether if it has no positive effects. I don't know. I'm just asking the question.
Well, $83 in 3 years isn't worth messing with.
That's exactly my point, but you understand?
Yeah, but if it did cause people to buy fuel, you know, but it probably would not affect a general aviation type operator as much as a commercial operator. Is that right?
Correct. For instance, right now we have a plane that comes in at least a minimum of 3 times a week. They don't always take fuel, but they're here, 7 hours and 45 minutes. And so it doesn't really weigh out on us to be able to collect something or keep up with the time on it.
We have plenty of ramp space out there, and again, for that kind of money, I would suggest we just get rid of it.
I'll make a motion that we do away with
Eliminate it.
overnight fees.
Are there fees if somebody wants the aircraft protected in a hangar? Is that any part of this, or is that something totally separate?
That's separate because we typically put them in our hangar, and that's our rental.
Okay.
But we got a motion just to do away with the ramp fees. Here a second.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion? If not, we'll just have a roll call.
Thank you.
Johnson.
Yes.
Collier.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Schoonover.
Yes.
Willoughby.
Yes.
Okay. Operations, James?
Back when we were discussing that Office B up there on Powell Street for Jonathan at Afterglow, to offer him 18 months rent-free while he remodeled it. Well, he ended up backing out of the office in the hangar. Well, we re-rented the hangar and the Office A to the Duggars. Jeff Mann rented Office B for 18 months rent-free, and he's going to finish it out for us. So as of September 2019, we'll start collecting rent on that other hangar. So then we'll have both, or other office, we'll have both offices remodeled, collecting rent. So we've got everything filled now, waiting list of 19 names. Call every day looking for hangars, so starting to pick up again.
Time to build a hangar.
We're going to close another one.
Where we at on the open?
We've got about 6 or 8 bays.
Well, if we haven't got anything working on closing that, one of those up, I will promise to get to work on this. I found a gentleman I'd like to talk to about it and bring that to the next meeting.
Yeah, we had Flint Co. was working on a quote, but I don't know if they've.
Really tough, you know, right now, but to get somebody to do that. But I guess it was such the doors falling and everything, it was so scary that the other company don't want to deal with us with it again. So there's two sources I would like to check. That's local, and one of them's in Lowell, and the other's a freelancer that works in this area. And if we get him to do that small of a job, he will, but he does larger projects. But I'll see if I can't talk him into coming talking to us or looking at it. But
As far as our hangar rent goes, we still got a few slow pays that have to get caught up. Scott Davis being one of them. And our update on Gary Howard, Sarah couldn't be here today, she's out of town, but they've hired someone to try to track Mr. Howard down because they can't find him. So she'll be taking it before the judge, and she doesn't know what we can do at this point. It's going to be all determined on what the judge says. Aircraft or move his belongings or anything. It's all going to be tied up to what the judge determines. Present.
We have a timetable for that?
She says once she gets him served, but I think she can already go ahead and set the court date up and get that done, even though she can't find him.
So the registered letter was never signed? I thought that had been signed.
I don't know about that. Their office couldn't find him. Now they've hired somebody to try to find him.
so that's in the court's hands right now. We'll be getting an update next month, I'm sure.
Yes. And we've got it posted on all his hangar, storage, and office. The eviction notice is up. Someone keeps yanking the one down off the office, but we keep putting it back up.
Talking about the office on the airport, what about his, wherever he used to be in town? Has no physical location that we know of at all.
His previous location over on Olive or Oak Street is.
Did we put new locks on his hangar?
On the office, the combination lock, we can change the combination.
I guess we could and see what happens.
Yeah, true.
We could put different locks on them and say we're sorry if we did something wrong, couldn't we? I mean, he's gonna have to come and complain or cut them off. What would he do? Call the sheriff? I doubt it, because we got a thing out for him. What do you think? I'd be in favor of changing the locks, or
Well, is that not something we'll need to get an answer from the judge on?
that's what I said. Maybe it's better to say we're sorry than
Oh,
Ask for forgiveness if something
ask for
comes up.
forgiveness
Yeah.
instead of, well, we didn't
Just go down and do some routine maintenance. change
Yeah,
the
because
lock.
we don't know that we can't. We haven't been told we can't, per se, not recently.
Well, I know that it's not easy to evict people. I've had a lot of experience with it, and then you lose either way you go. Right now, I would advise just to see what the judge says, and even if he comes and moves, just vacates the building, we can still get judgment against him, and we'll probably have the same.
Could we possibly chain his airplane to the hangar so he couldn't get it out?
There is no
Without-
activity there anyway right now, is there?
I've not seen him in years.
Yeah.
Experimentals in them.
Have to ask us to
Yeah.
something. Money.
What do they do on these storage units? They quits paying their rent on a,
Well, in their lease, I think
don't they lock it up or something and?
they'd sell the contents.
Yeah, but you sign a contract that after 30 days, your merchandise becomes theirs, and they pull it out. I don't think we can state that in our.
I don't think our lease says that.
I need to make it, we might need to make ours more like long-term storage.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what it is for him.
Yeah, he's just got free storage.
Do we need to do anything about Scott Davis? I mean, he's just continuing and continuing. I think we need to send a real clear signal to that gentleman that it's time to get caught up. Because he's run right there with Mr. Howard, and we're letting another one just, get by. I would like to see some sort of legal notice given to Scott Davis that,
Doesn't he, James, catch himself up?
He comes in and pays bulk, he's current, and then just drops right back.
Are there late fees included in what he's paying?
Yeah, 30, 60, 90.
Has he got airplanes in all three of these hangars?
It's 2 hangars in storage, yes.
Let's get this question settled on Howard before we move to him, but can we ask for a reasonable time frame when this might happen with the judge and when we might be able to get an answer there? And where would we be at the next meeting and like that, and see then if we want to take up going and locking the hangar up or whatever.
Yeah, as soon as Sarah's back in town, I'll get a comment from her and then let you know.
Okay. In other words, if any of you want to take action on this, we're open for that too, other than where we're at. Certainly entertain a suggestion or a motion to that effect, but I'd rather deal with it this other way, at least for the next.
Well, didn't we, the last time we were talking about this, say if they went 90 days or whatever, they were going to get an eviction notice? Haven't we established that already?
Yes, but we haven't talked about going locking the hangar up,
Well,
changing it.
the reason I say that is, going back to Scott Davis, he's more than 90 days overdue.
Well, there's another angle we haven't looked at. What happens if through the fence operators stop paying? We fence them off, don't we?
Yeah.
So would this not be the same basic set of circumstances? Only we own the building?
Be on the building.
We're denying access to the airport.
Losing revenue.
Yeah, but we're denying access to the airport through the fence operator. This way, we'll be denying them access to their property. So I don't know.
Need to find a way to move him out. Rent it
I do,
again.
I think so too.
But what are we on? We're 4 months into discussing this still. Now we still don't have a timetable as to when there's going to be a judgment made.
Well, we could simply draw a line in the sand and say, this is how you will deal with it, or this is what we're gonna do. We don't have that tool right now, do we? Well, we could certainly devise it. Then James would automatically have the tools he needed to go do it.
Well, I asked Sarah if we could put it in the contract to say that if you don't pay your rent, we are going to move you out of your hangar, and she said we can't do it.
You,
Different guidelines on us than what storage units are, so that'd be good to have her in here to get all the fine lines, what we can and can't do.
Government can't do what a private person can.
okay, well, as it stands, let's
This
just,
thing just keeps snowballing. You got this out of hangar balance owed of 21,000. You got this other stuff, I mean,
Yeah, those are your bankrupt people.
we're gonna be bankrupt if we don't start collecting.
well, yes, we've let it go till it's, this has accumulated over several years.
Yeah. Why do we still have it on the books?
That's a good
Never gonna
question.
collect it. Or it's never gonna be collectible.
There's a claim filed against them if they ever have any money. But they all filed bankrupt.
One time we elected to make it, put it over on a different
Right, they wanted to still see
part
it
of the
even though it
state,
was.
but still keep up with it.
You ever do a tax deal where they have a refund that we automatically get paid first?
That's the way a lien, I mean, a certain type of lien, you can
Yeah,
do that.
there's a
right.
tax lien type deal that you can do that. I know, like, these people that have fines and penalties and all this stuff. Municipalities, they get their money before the person gets their tax refund.
I think we ought to pursue that on these ones that are open. And, I mean, if they ever do get a refund, we'd get it. And they might consider doing something different.
They think they're gonna get $4,000 or $5,000 and we've got it instead of them.
James, she give you any indication of another option?
She said it's all gonna depend on what the judge rules.
So what he rules is going to be a precedent for everybody else.
But she understood.
So I guess at that point, we can change the contract or amend the contracts to add that.
Well, like we did last time, it was when they got to a certain point, then they automatically went to the new one. So if we amend our lease to reflect whatever the judge allows, if you get more than 30 days in arrears, we could move to automatically put them on a new type of lease, which would give us that access that we're talking about, whatever the judge would allow. So we can't really do that, but when it happens, we need to do that, to give them incentive to stay current, so they don't get put on that where we could attach if that's possible.
Takes up a lot of our time.
So, we'll wait on the judge to say that, and then that'll also give us guidelines how do we want to move forward with Davis. At this point.
It's been made aware.
Okay. Until we get the tools for you to work with, there's not a whole lot we can do right now, except what you're doing, right? Okay? Any other questions? If not, James, you want to talk about the doors?
Yeah, on the entrance to the terminal, we have those double pads in the floor, walk-through doors. Windy days will blow one door open and turn, blow the other door open. People stop to talk and the doors will automatically come back and hit you. So they're our last thing that's outdated at the terminal. So I got a quote to remove both sets of doors, install one new set of door, and fix the floor. So that's what this quote is in front. Is to put automatic doors the same as what we have going to the ramp.
It'll be a slider, not a,
Slider, a one set slider versus a two. So it makes that front lobby accessible rather than just a hot box in the summer and a cold box in the winter. Actually put seats out there and people can actually sit out there.
And we do
Usable
have
space.
the money to do it.
Total of under $1,500. $1392.60.
That's to fix the floor.
Read the rest of it, Greg.
Nice thought, Greg.
You can get that. I'll take those at my office
No
too.
kidding.
I was gonna so vote we do it. Oh, here's the front page.
I know it's a lot of money, but we've done a lot of work on that building,
We ought to
and
do
those
it.
others work so nice. At some point, we're gonna have to change it anyway. I suggest we do it.
I move that we do it.
And keep in mind, you've got a limited amount of money right now, and you're talking about acquiring property, about enclosing the hangar, and doing these doors, and then I think there's James is going to show you some, changing out some electrical lights to fluorescent light, or LED lights. So I agree, you need to do some of these projects, but there's more than one, you're going to have to pick and choose.
Well, I'm not familiar with all the other. I am familiar with the fact we're gonna be looking at enclosing a hangar, and we'll be having matching funds there. Hopefully we get that from state. None of this is eligible for state funding or anything. It's,
I'm not opposed to the project, I'm just making sure you're aware that
oh, it's a good big ticket item, but it's not something we're gonna have to visit the next year or the next year. It would last, how long have those others lasted? And these should have a better life than those.
Right.
20 years, or
So what's your pleasure?
I know that it's not gonna get any cheaper.
No.
Wait 2 years to do it up, you'll probably look at 20% more in 2 years.
Didn't we get a quote on that when we did the renovations?
Front doors?
Huh?
No.
Oh, we didn't.
Those are back doors.
Yeah, I know, I was thinking. Which way you coming from?
Well, or the hangar, the runway side, I guess. That'd be the front door if you're in an airplane.
What sort of downtime would we have as far as our customer access to the building if we choose to do this?
Well, we can just divert them through the north side of the
We don't
terminal
have a
door,
second though.
bring them right down that hallway.
Okay.
But they should have the doors out to do the inside first. So that we can still lock the building, and then the outside set in one day, so it'd be probably a one day.
pretty quick
2 day offset.
installation.
We got a motion on the floor to do it. Here a second.
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call?
Collier,
Yes.
Smith. Schoonover,
Yes.
Willoughby,
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes. Okay. I'm not familiar with the upgrade on the LED lighting. Where are we talking about?
Well, I've got Ryan here that submitted the proposal. What it is upgrading all lighting throughout the airport, all hangars, terminal, and everything with LED. Brad from City Hall, I guess they looked at all throughout the city. And Ryan, do you want to speak on those options for?
I think that y'all have copies of this proposal. I have just one addendum at the back here I'd like to talk to you about. Sorry, there is some paper.
Oh, I'm good.
So I'm Ryan Boswell with Integrity Partners. Wanted to thank you all for having me here today. I'm going to go through this really briefly and then hopefully answer any questions that you have. If you look at the savings summary page, we've looked at your project in a couple of different ways. On the left-hand side, that energy savings table, there's two numbers that I've highlighted that I want to point out. Based on our assessment of the lighting at the airport, your annual energy cost to keep the lights on is just under $28,000. If we follow through with this LED retrofit as it's proposed here, that would drop down to about $8,500 annually. So you're talking about a 70% decrease in your electrical costs for keeping the lighting on. That's primarily driven by the terminal, but this proposal also covers your hangars. On the right-hand side, we look at kind of the big picture financial data on the project. Total cost of the project is just over $92,000. But as you see below that, the incentive estimate, that is what SWEPCO, we've verified that they're willing to contribute to this project to help you achieve these energy savings. That comes in at just under $20,000. That is an estimate based on our best available data, but what we guarantee to the airport is that the net cost would be no more than the $72,484.86. So if that estimate or that incentive value from SWEPCO came back any lower, we would still guarantee the price here, and we would basically eat that additional cost. With the LED retrofit, you're looking at just over $20,000 in just straight electrical savings from the lighting. There's a small piece of that includes a lower HVAC cost, heating and air, because the LEDs are generating less heat than your current fluorescent lighting. And we include a little maintenance savings in there, just over $2,800. That's because our lamps are rated for 50,000 hours. So for about 10 years, you're not changing another lamp. You don't have any ballasts. Our LEDs eliminate the ballasts, and as James can probably tell you, the ballasts are a huge headache in fluorescent lighting. So that's where that maintenance savings comes from. So by changing out your lighting completely to LED, the airport would be looking at just under $24,000 annually in savings. And so with those savings, the project is going to pay for itself in just about 3 years.
You say the city's looking at doing this in most of the buildings throughout the
Funded
city.
in probably about 5 buildings. Most of the buildings we did it in, we had like 18-month payback.
I did it at my house and my shop and garage already.
So if you turn to the next page, it really just restates the information we've already talked about. But what I want to point out is that bottom line, the monthly cost of delay. So that's what we have determined that you're spending right now with your fluorescent lighting between maintenance and electric costs, about just under $2,000 a month. So for every month that you delay, you're looking at $2,000 that are left on the table with your fluorescent lighting.
Is this eligible for any state funding, Wyman?
With some municipalities, we've been able to work with them on a tax-exempt capital lease. It's a 5-year lease that finances the project over that term. We can kind of skip through the bulk of this, and if you look at that back page, I've kind of amortized this project if you chose to finance it. We'd only require financing on the net cost. If you assign the rebate to us, we pass on just the net cost to the airport. So looking at financing that, $72,500 roughly. The capital lease typically comes with an interest rate in the ballpark of 3.5%. Over 60 months, that works out so that your monthly savings are about $1,971 a month. To service that debt, you're looking at $1,318. So each month, from the moment the retrofit is in place, you're generating about $650 in cash flow. You're saving more than you're spending to finance the project.
Yeah, we'd be, all these being true numbers here, it would be definitely worthwhile to do it because the net outlay is less than what our monthly outlay right now is. So you're just using you're estimating about a $600 less cost than what we're paying right now.
That's if you
By
finance it.
financing it.
Right.
I have no problem financing it myself. Would you?
Run into a few legal restrictions on,
Pardon me?
run into a few legal descriptions. It gets to be quite technical to finance
So
it.
there's no consensus or no, on the thought that the city should finance it? There's no way, I mean, you think
But there is a way it's not simple.
it's not what?
It's not real simple.
Why is it so complicated?
Because there's Arkansas Constitution that says we're prohibited from entering into interest-bearing agreements.
Are you limited to the amount?
So it doesn't matter the amount.
Is this funds that we could ask the city to loan to the airport?
Good.
Pay it back over a 3-year period.
Yeah, I mean,
At the,
we're just talking about how to come up with the initial outlay right now. It's obvious, again, with these numbers being accurate, that it's a net gain for the airport.
I'd prefer to ask the city to help with the money than to try to finance it.
Finance it that way rather than with.
I mean, I'd rather pay the city the interest than somebody
Sure.
else.
Sure.
Yeah, and just to clarify, we don't personally offer the finance as Integrity. We would just work with your financial
I understand.
institution.
You're
So,
just throwing out an example.
absolutely.
I understand that. Well, let's do this. Let's petition the city with these numbers and just see if we can't go ahead and get it done.
I'm in favor of that.
Okay?
Monday night.
Pardon me? Monday night? With the council?
The man that I fly for occasionally down in Fayetteville did this to his hangars, and it paid his cost back in less than 18 months.
Remember, we did the taxiway lights several years ago, and it cut our electric bill by a third, I think.
Okay, so do we need a motion on that? Yes. Let's.
I
hear a
move that
motion.
we petition the city to, it's done immediately.
Hear a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Thank you.
Who's gonna make that presentation?
Wyman is.
Okay.
If the city's doing it, they ought to be in favor of it.
Land acquisition, Wyman.
I asked Adam to look at the northwest property and see if we could fit a terminal building down there with, without that vacant tract that just was purchased. And he's determined that we can. And there is a possibility that we might even wind up with a piece of that vacant property sometime in the future. So I'd recommend that we go ahead and finish the review appraisal of all those properties down there, so that if funds become available, or if we come up with a way that we would be in a position to go ahead and acquire the property. There's still a lot of interest in having the terminal on that end of the building or airport.
We've already, all we did was put a hold on that appraisal, but certainly this is just one more partial. It's not going to really be that cost that much in the overall scheme of things. Costs just as much to appraise one of those houses, or maybe more than it does that 10 acre. So I'm for
This property that's outlined in black is the one that sold, though, right?
the large.
No longer available, the large.
Parcel. Yeah, and
It's sold, I don't know if it's available or not.
what Adam's done, or what we're showing here, the parking, the auto parking extended back in that, it shows you the limited space that you would need for that. You wouldn't even need the whole, all the way west that we were talking about. But all of that whole block is included in this appraisal.
Motion to continue the appraisal process.
Yes.
I make that motion that we continue complete the,
Here a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. missed that. Yes, we missed the fuel, the activity report. Sorry about that. I jumped right over it since I put the item 7 in front of it.
Well, the fuel payment is due on the 15th of the month, and so sometimes it cuts it kind of tight for me to get that report in the agenda. And I didn't get it in this month. Got the operations in there.
That's what accounts for the drop?
Pardon me?
Is that what caused the drop?
The operations just went down a little bit. I don't know why they went down, but I don't have a fuel report in there, I don't believe. We've got a grant that's in progress that's playing with their cash flow a little bit. That's why we're showing that we spent $17,000 more than we taken in. We pay for the grant, then we apply for payment from the FAA, and it's a little delayed. FAA's added, or the Department of Transportation's added a layer of security to drawing out money, and it took us a while to figure out what was preventing us from getting in.
Any other question on operations? I'll say this, we did sign authorization for the FAA to fly the PAPI a couple of weeks ago. So do you know when they're going to do that, Wyman? Adam?
As soon as we can, get them out there. They're extremely behind right now with their flight checks. We actually installed a PAPI in Siloam, and we've been waiting a couple months for that one to get flown. So it's just day by day. Our hope is that since the Siloam one is actually above you in priority, since they're going to go to Siloam, they can just hop over to Springdale and knock them both out at the same time. So fingers crossed that we're probably about a week and a half, 2 weeks out.
Well, that would make sense.
But you know what they say about the government making sense.
I understand.
That's like they're going to keep your.
They could do that while they were in the pattern.
Right, that's right.
Hey,
I'm sorry, did anyone have any?
I was just, that
comment?
$17,000 taxiway improvement was on here, goes with the $17,000 we're waiting on, is that right, Wyman? This $17,000, is that what we're behind? That's about what you said we were waiting on a grant?
Right. If you look up at the top, you see the federal grants, and there's not a revenue.
Right.
But
But this is that expenditure that we had? Okay.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Okay, Adam, you have any other?
Yeah, just a couple quick updates. So we talked a little bit about the PAPI project. If you remember, when I was gone last month out of town, we were under construction for that project. It finished up in 6 nights, which I thought was very impressive given that 2 nights it rained. So they really got it done about 4 actual good working nights. There are some punch list items left as well. In addition to the flight check, we require the contractor to come back out for the flight check and adjust the PAPIs as necessary before we accept them. And so he's going to handle those punch list items when he comes back out to do the flight check all at the same time. So we'll get all that stuff wrapped up then, and then we'll apply for our reimbursement from the state for the 90% of that project cost. On the runway rehabilitation project, plan, specs, and report have been submitted to the FAA. On that one, they got submitted a couple weeks ago. What we're going to do is we're going to bring some data to you next month. We'll try to get it to Rose ahead of time so she can send it out with the agenda. One thing we've talked about is looking at the weather data versus operational data versus fuel cell data, and try to get a feel for when's the best time to try to hit the project and get in, get out without having, with having as little effect on the airport operation as possible. So hopefully having that data in front of you will help you think about that, and we can make a good decision. At that point, we'll be advertising for bids in May, opening bids and applying for a grant in June, and then look for a grant award in August, and then we'll be in our pre-construction phase throughout the winter and ready to build it in the spring, summer of next year.
Sounds good.
That's all I've got.
Any questions? If not, old business? Wyman?
We do have someone taking a serious look at the side of the airport to build another hangar. There's room on the north end to build a pretty good sized hangar there.
Yeah, that was very interesting. I think Andrew's going to come, is going to be making a presentation on that, isn't he, or talking to us about that next month, I think, well, he's here. But if you haven't looked at that possible layout, I'd advise you to do so. There's a lot of room over there for a low-profile hangar, not, it's just you can't go up. And when we looked at that for George's, you know, it just didn't quite fit. So this should be a good deal if we can work it out.
How high can we go there, do you know?
I'm not sure. Have you got that right on top of your head?
Yeah, we met with Andy and looked at some of the options there. The answer is it depends. There's a lot of space if you just try to stay out of the primary surface where it's your building restriction line, can't have anything an inch tall in that area. Then you get into your transitional surface at a 7-to-1, and that gets into your situation like the George's hangar. Do you just hold them to the line that's existing, the next closest building, the face of that building, they have to stay behind that, and just put an obstruction light on it? You as a commission can make that decision, or do you want to push them all the way back to where they're clear of that surface, much further back than the next door building? So I think that's one of the things that Andy said he wanted to talk to y'all about and get y'all's feedback on that.
Has anyone here spoken with the, I think they're called, it's the bicycle park that's going in the old waste management area over here? It's going to be tied in. Have you know what I'm talking about, James? Is there a way that, I don't know what the tie-in is, what they're building over there, but in discussing it with a gentleman, they're really trying hard to have the airport tied into their bicycle park. Is there a way that we can somehow tie the two together from this side?
I think there were, that's part of that general aviation deal there.
There's a lot of discussion going on in the hallway and not in official meetings of what they're looking at. They're looking to handle or to cater to people that fly in to ride the mountain bike trail.
This mountain bike deal that they're doing is going to be really big. Apparently, it's like golfing, where people fly in to go to certain golf courses. These mountain bikers will fly in here to mountain bike on this mountain trail. And so airport traffic will go up as a result of that, and that's why they're thinking about this Emma Street connection.
So is that the, so that will be like a staging area in that old waste management where they would,
Bike trails?
yeah, it's not, that's where they will access or
Yeah, but I think isn't it going to be on that whole mountain over there?
Well, I think we're talking about two different things.
they're not actually, they're not going to put a course on that waste management like a,
That's what I understood.
Yeah, the Jones Center bought it to put a course over there.
it would be restricted to that area,
How
not just a
about-
place to stage and go out of.
Talk about
There's
having
no mountain to
seen the
ride a
design.
mountain bike on unless,
It's not a mountain bike
Fitzgerald
deal there.
Mountain.
Well, no, they're going to develop.
are you talking about one of those BMX type courses like, no?
No, the way I understood it, it's, I think it's could be different levels from beginners to intermediate on, but it's, because there's not a huge area there, but they're going to have, and I don't know enough about it to speak about it, quite honestly, but he explained how they'll have some narrow ramps that they can get up and on and jump off of, but my point in asking this and starting this conversation was that he was saying they're going to have, I believe, an aircraft over there, and they're going to have like a runway coming up to project like an airport runway, planes taking off. And so that's why I was asking if there was a way to connect.
I think, yeah, there's a deal there with that, then they're going up in the on that mountainside below.
Cramelot.
Yeah. And have a high-dollar, first-class trail that goes out there. That's where we're talking about these people flying in to take their mountain bikes to do this trail. I think it all ties together as one big project, and
Talking to him.
there's some people, substantial amount of money that's looking at this pretty good.
I don't know how the airport could participate in it. You wouldn't have, certainly there's no,
Bicycle rack out there.
well, that would be one of the only things I can see. You certainly wouldn't want to break the perimeter for it or anything like that.
I was gonna say they would have to tie into the trail as it exists now, and
They
they
can-
could ride
They can
across
also,
there.
when they get hungry, come and eat at the airport now.
But the trail
That'll
that
help some.
exists now would give them access across to Emma. I think that would, is that what they're asking for, you think? Can't build a tunnel under Emma for them, or overpass.
I don't think you'd be able to ride bicycles across the runway.
No.
It's interesting, though.
A lot going on in
Got a
Springdale.
lot going on in Springdale.
Making it happen in Springdale.
Well,
Making it happen in Springdale.
it does give some incentive to the development of a passenger or executive or whatever you call it, a terminal right there at Emma, and some parking area, because if those people come in and are gonna be here for a few hours and,
Well, if they like to ride bicycles, what's wrong with jumping out and going out on, and getting on the bike trail and riding wherever?
that's right.
It's kind of like you go to somewhere to exercise and you try to park close to the building as you can. What's wrong with parking at the back of the parking lot and walk over to the building? You're going there for exercise.
Exercise, walk a
If you're
mile.
gonna ride a bicycle, what's another mile? Just saying. Anyway. Any other comments?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Well, we're gonna adjourn then.